Hello, hello,
Oh,
hello.
good evening, good evening, good evening.
Oh,
Oy.
we're here. We're here. Welcome to Let's Have a Fifi. This is season 11, episode 9.
Moving right
Woo!
along.
Moving right along for season 11. 10 years of being your Wednesday night conversation. Welcome to Let's Have a Fifi. I'm Felicia Fifi Minor. Uh, just looking a
Who
little.
stole my mustache, apparently. I
Yeah. Yeah. Was in the wrong closet.
eh, I am got into my stuff. I am Freddy Prinze Charming with a very itchy nose, actually just my left nostril. And I can't get to it because it's buried under this. I can't even get to it through the nostril. Like I tried, I can't poke anything in it. So my nose is really itchy. It's
Oh, good
great.
for
It's a good time.
you. It sounds like a
Yeah.
great time. Speaking of great times, we have a special guest. We have artist
Yay.
Mia Pratt in the building.
Hey,
Well, not
and
in the
thanks for
building, because
inviting me, you guys. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be on here with you. I love you both.
yes,
I know I don't have
all
to
the
wear
way.
pants tonight. It's very exciting.
Either do I.
The last couple guests we've had have been in studio with me, and I've actually had to wear pants then, so I don't
Oh,
have to wear
yeah,
pants
yeah.
this evening.
I am not wearing pants, and I don't want to fulfill that promise for anybody.
Yeah.
Well, either am I. So, it's a pantsless party. What can we do?
Oh, wonderful,
Excellent.
wonderful.
Fantastic. I'm here
I'm
for it.
glad we're making strides here. I'm glad we're making strides.
It's
We
That's
like
what
to
you call
think.
gender fluid.
Absolutely. Pantsless is gender fluid.
Yes, it is.
We'd like to thank all of our Patreon supporters who support us on patreon.com/. Let's have a Fifi. Yes. We'd like to thank Brandon D, Drake Jensen, Casey Starr, Carrie and Corey, Kim, Joan, Leanne, Nicole, and Shannon.
And I literally just posted something in the Patreon like 2 minutes ago.
Oh, really? So if you haven't been on Patreon and you're a Patreon subscriber, there's loads of content within the last week from the both of us.
There's
Like
a ton of stuff. If y'all aren't paying attention to Patreon,
loads.
you're missing out. And if you haven't subscribed to Patreon yet, you're missing out. Like there's a lot of stuff on there.
So we're like skimming the surface when you look at our Facebook and Instagram, but when you go on Patreon, that's the real thing. So
Well, I'm going to
thank
subscribe
you.
because I was not subscribed, and now I'm going to as soon as we get
Yeah.
because I'm
Oh,
dying to
thank
see what I
you.
don't see on Facebook.
Oh, there's all
Oh,
sorts of stuff. There's all sorts of stuff. It's a good
Really, that
time.
opened the closet door.
yes. We like when people come into our closet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your
Uh-huh.
closets, I would love to take a look through. Oh my God, your clothing is fabulous. Your
I don't know
costumes,
if
your
you would. I
dress.
don't know if
Oh,
you would
you
survive.
may get lost in Felicia's closet. Sometimes it's kind of like I don't know if she's cleaned it, but it's kind of like a black hole.
I've
We
cleaned
can't
it a
get it. It's like
little bit, but it starts to like come out this way. So
Hmm.
this is the part that people
it's
don't
in
see.
Poltergeist where they like tie a rope and before they throw the woman
Yes.
into the closet to go get the kid. That's
Uh-huh.
kind of what it's like.
You got to
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
breadcrumbs to find your way back out.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
may come
Well,
out
yeah.
covered in goo. Like
Oh my
very,
gosh. I
very
just
much
love
like
that.
the Poltergeist scene. Very much like the Poltergeist scene.
Well,
Because
just
it
put a rope
happens to
around me
me.
and drag me back out when my time is
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, it happens to me. It happens to me.
True story.
A special thanks to Success Boutique, where I got this mustache and the blue makeup. Uh, yeah, and then I'll be ordering foundation whenever I get around to
I
that.
just ordered foundation. That's another reason why I ended up with this look because
But I
I
kind of
ordered
like the
foundation.
creativity that's coming out of this not having
Not having the
regular
makeup.
makeup.
Tell me what blue makeup you got because I like what you're using.
So this is Mayron, and I believe it says Paradise across the top. And so
Is it the water activated stuff?
it's water activated. So what I do is I put a layer on, and then I let it dry, and then I put the like translucent setting powder on top of
Hmm.
it, and then I put another layer on so that they don't like go together and like you
Right.
know
Yeah, that's generally what I
because
do when I'm working with water activated stuff. Yeah.
it kind of like makes a mess. But this goes on very opaque, no like see-through.
One blue, and you mixed it, or is it
So
darker than the lighter?
as we go into the makeup tutorial, these are different blues from different, like, this is like Juvia's Place, and
Oh, okay. I have Juvia's Place stuff.
yeah, so Juvia's Place, and there's another one. There's some Krylon, but I like to mix the blues, and because like you get different depth from different,
Shading, like
Right,
contouring.
yeah. No,
yeah.
totally.
So I
Huh.
just play with it.
Huh. Very
I don't
nice.
put anything definite when I'm doing color because it turns into a hot mess real quick if I try to like do definite and then yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. I get
If
you.
you're on Patreon, I will post how I did my face. I posted, was it for sex trivia that I posted? I think the red look.
Yes, yes.
And I'm not afraid to show you that I made a mistake. So in there, I like messed up one of the designs on my face, but I had hair on my face, so just kind of hid it because I needed to get out of the door. But anyhow, so looks from Success Boutique, jewelry from LC Designs. I don't think any of us are wearing LC Designs,
I am
but
not wearing any jewelry this evening.
wigs are usually from Wigs of a Kind, but we're just failing our sponsors tonight. I'm just kidding. But we want to thank them for supporting us, and you too can support us by tipping us and or just leaving large amounts of money that you
We
don't
like the large amounts of
need.
money that just sort of
I mean,
appear.
it's Q4 and you're trying to do your taxes next year. Just drop off some coins. Um, we are not a 501c3, but we could pretend.
We're still pretty charitable.
And if you feel like risking your life and want to text me for show alerts, you can text LHAF to 602-730-7379. And if you're on Facebook, there's a lot of housekeeping. We got sidetracked today.
Sorry. My bad.
If you're on Facebook, if you click the star button, I read this today. So for every star you buy, we get 1 cent. So if you buy 99 stars, we get 99 cents. If you buy
Ooh.
500 stars, we get $5.
Ooh. That's exciting.
Yeah. And so we'd like to thank folks like DJ Image, Eddie Omega, say her last name, Laura
Laura
Renfro.
Renfro.
Okay, I said it right this time because I think my mind saw that it was spelled wrong and said it wrong completely. Anyway, and Tony Mattia, right?
Yes.
Mattia, and more who have donated. Maybe I didn't catch your name, but it tells me every once in a while who donated, but it's not very
We
consistent.
appreciate you.
Yeah, free money is good money at this rate.
Yeah.
So what did you do this weekend?
My weekend was actually relatively chill, all considering. We babysat my partner's niece on Friday, which she's just shy of a year old, like just barely a year old. I think she's going to be a year on the 31st. I think she's like a New Year's Eve baby, so she's little. I haven't been around a baby that little in a very long time, like for any length of time, And
in my opinion, that's the good time. Like after they start being more conscious, then it's
well, then
like
they start walking and talking and having opinions. So it's like
exactly.
right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Enjoy
But
this
she,
cute
oh my
little
god,
time.
she was so chill. Like she seriously, she just kind of hung out. She sat on the couch and was just chilling. Just chilling. She was obsessed with one of our kittens, and the kitten was equally obsessed with her. Like
Oh wow.
her and Phoebe, like they just sat there. Phoebe just sat and purred and purred and purred, and we taught her how to pet the kitten nice. There's a freaking adorable picture of her and me. I'm playing Mario Kart, and she's sitting up next to me, and she's got like a hand on me, and she's just watching the TV while I'm playing.
Oh, that's the cutest.
I know.
On you or something, that little feeling like
Right.
just just want to be
exactly.
near you. Yeah.
She didn't get fussy at all. There was nothing. And it's okay, so it's really funny because the only kid that was home with us was our youngest. The other two were at a basketball game. And Michaela's not good with kids. She doesn't know what to do with kids. She doesn't like them. She's just like,
Oh.
I don't, she's like, they're irrational. You can't talk to them. She's 13. Okay. So she comes out of her room. She just sort of emerges. And we're like, Michaela, do you want to hold her? And she's like, and she like holds her for 3 seconds and she's like, okay, I'm good. And then a little while later, Mikey and Luke come home, and Mikey immediately is like, oh my God, and wants to go. And he picks her up and he's like, I'm like the difference is so funny. And Mikey loves little kids. He just scooped her up immediately and was like holding her and like walking around. And it was fantastic. It was great. But yeah, it was like the first time I've been around a baby for like hours, and it was good. She was chill because she oh yeah, like Michaela was like, eh. I just kind of poked her a little bit. Like it was funny.
Oh my gosh.
She
There
does not know what to do with babies or kids
there
at
are
all.
some people that have a little bit of fear about holding babies.
Yeah.
Did you
No, no,
know
no.
that?
This is any child. Any child. Michaela has said that she doesn't like them because they're irrational. You can't talk to them. Yeah, I know. And like you can't have a conversation. That's why
That's
she
like
doesn't like
turning the
kids.
lens around. Oh my god.
It's so funny. It's yeah.
Well, I hope
But it's the
she
same thing
keeps
with like
that. I hope she keeps that for another, how old is she?
13.
Oh, another 10 years. Another 10
At the
years.
very
Be
least. We
afraid
have a
of
feeling
babies.
she's probably not going to end up having kids, but she's going to be like weird Auntie Michaela who like
Has
is
50
like
cats in her
hardcore
apartment.
feminist or whatever, and Mikey's going to be the one with like 18 kids just hanging off of him all the time. Like that's yeah.
Mm.
Saturday morning was good. We had to drop Michaela off at a choir thing, and then we had a couple of yard sales. We got like almost like a whole like a one of those like those little Christmas villages with the
Oh
little babies and
yeah.
things. We got like a full set, missing only a couple of little figurines,
Oh,
like massive, with like a whole bunch of cool shit for $10.
Oh
wow.
wow.
Yeah, it was
That's a
really
great
cool,
deal.
and we got we got an ergonomic typing chair. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah. Which, a couple other fun things. And then, of course, sex trivia Saturday night. That's always a good time. It was chilly, but I'm glad I remembered to wear tights. And I have no idea what the hell I did on Sunday.
Mm.
As it should be for Sunday.
Yeah,
You should
no
not
idea.
remember what you did. It's just sleep it away, have a few margaritas.
Oh, I wish that would have been. I don't even drink tequila, and I think I would have been fine with a couple of margaritas on Sunday. I have no idea what I did. It's not a clue.
That's good.
Not a clue.
Mm.
How was your weekend, Felicia?
So Friday night I worked, but it was a good kind of work. It wasn't like I sat at a desk work, but that was fun. And then on Saturday morning, we went to breakfast with Santa in Mesa,
Oh.
and that was pretty fun. I think I posted pictures on Facebook
You
for
did,
that.
yes. Pretty sure.
And then it was just a pretty chill weekend because we went to sex trivia, and then Sunday I think we did grocery shopping, and that was about it. Ready for the weekend already, though. But but what about you, Mia? Everybody hears
Oh,
our weekend every week, so let's hear yours.
oh,
And usually our
time,
weekend consists of I have no idea what I did.
time is so strange in this little village. It's hard to even remember what day it is. So the weekends are not much different than the rest of the time. I get up in the morning and I water my flowers, and then I sit down at the easel and start painting and have some coffee and walk the dog and do some work for social media and stuff like that. Saturday is fun. I like to go over to something called the Malecon, which is a block away on the lake. Walk around. All the families are there. There's horses and boats and kids hanging out, and a lot of families, and it's nice. It's nice.
Oh
And
wow.
that's pretty much it. And then that's pretty much it. Then I come back home, paint some more, do some more social media, write a blog post, whatever, and visit some friends. I did visit a friend this weekend, and this past weekend that was really nice. Had a little coffee clatch together and laughed and told jokes, and so it's pretty laid back here. I'm in this little village on the lake in central Mexico, and it's
wow.
horses go clopping by a couple of times a day, and I
Sounds like
have
a
my little
very
gallery.
rough life.
Well, on Saturdays
Very
I'll open
rough life.
the gallery and just open the front door, which is like a garage door. And in Mexico, your business is like the front of the house, So you just open your front door and people just wander in, And then when it's 3 o'clock or something, I just close the door. So it's pretty mellow. It's not like a hardcore business. It's just a laid back, chill, liberal little village. I love it.
So before the show, we were threatening Mia that we're going to move in with her. This is sounding more and more real as she describes it. So,
It's mostly older people down here. It's kind of a retirement zone, but more and more young people are coming because with the pandemic and everybody working from home, people can leave the United States. My daughter's here and to sit upstairs on her computer and do her job. So it's pretty cool.
okay, I'm going to have to. Does your daughter like roommates? Huh?
She's going back to the States in February, and then another friend.
So you have availability in February. Okay.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Good to know.
Wonderful.
Okay, perfect.
Listen,
Gives
I
me
will
time.
tell you, if you guys want to come for a visit, we'll give you the guest. We have a guest room. We can work it out. We can make that happen.
Wonderful.
Oh God, I just realized I have no eyeliner on. I was looking at myself going, what the fuck is wrong with my face? I have no eyeliner on.
You look great.
How'd you do that? How'd you get away with that?
I had issues. It's fine. It's fine.
We're here
It's
now.
fine.
We're here
I
now.
left on Sunday. I left with my bedroom slippers on and walked all the way to the store. And I was standing in line. I looked down. I'm like, I am in my bedroom slippers. Nobody even noticed.
You can cuss on the show. You can cuss on the show.
Yeah.
We don't fucking care. We don't fucking care that you cuss.
Sometimes I cuss like a sailor, and then other times I don't. I never know. It's like a Tourette syndrome, You just stub your toe, and it's like the words that come out of my mouth shock me, even me, So.
Speaking of shocking, let's move on with the tip.
My tip tonight is based on. It comes from an interaction that we had during sex trivia on Saturday, and it was kind of interesting. I was like, oh, that's So one of our categories is
if you know,
acronyms.
you know.
So right, it's if you know, you know. So we give you an acronym. You have to tell us what the acronym is, right? And the acronym on Saturday, one of them was capital M/S, lowercase s. And most people, if you're not part of the leather scene, if you're not part of the kink scene, you're not really going to know what that is. But most people had a decent guess, most of them. So for folks that are not in the kink or the leather scene, the capital S, or capital M/lowercase s is the acronym for master slave. Refers to a relationship dynamic between someone who identifies and uses the moniker master and a submissive who identifies and uses the moniker slave. When we revealed the correct answer, someone in the audience tried to argue that slave isn't a thing. We don't say slave. Slaves are bad. Like, went on this whole like political thing. It's like, whoa. Hold on. Mm-hmm. When you are talking about slavery in the non-consensual bubble, you are talking about slave labor. If you were talking about sweatshops, if you were talking about things like that, yes, you are absolutely correct. Slave is not good. We don't like slavery. Right. We don't condone slavery.
Correct.
However,
I sure in the hell don't.
Right? However, when you're talking about kink and kink titles and consent, this is a thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. There are, when it comes to titles and monikers and things like that within the kink and the leather scene, you have things like daddy, sir, mistress, master, slave, boy, property, as property, girl, all sorts of things like that. They are all titles and honorifics that are used in those communities. And first and foremost, the thing that you need to remember is that nothing happens in kink without consent, whether it's actions or whether it's words. You know, if you are spanking somebody, if you are flogging somebody, if you are calling somebody a dirty little slut, all of those things happen with consent.
Yeah.
Very enthusiastic consent. It can't be a maybe. It can't be a. It's all about consent.
And make sure you're
And
comfortable.
right. So, for example, I will answer to daddy. I will answer to sir. Not so much a fan of master. Not really my thing. Usually, I'm like, someone's like, "Are you?" I'm like, no, not so much.
Too much responsibility.
Right. I'm like, usually, like it's master tends to be reserved for a little bit more of the folks that are really into that dynamic. They're more of like sort of a hardcore sadist. Not my kink. I will beat the hell out of you, but I'm not into like the hardcore sadism. Like that's not it's not me. However, I will never allow someone to call me boy in the context of submission. Like for me, that's like if someone's like, "Oh, good boy" or whatever, I'm like, "Oh, no, that's my line. Absolutely not. I can tolerate just about anything else. I am not a fan of boy. Don't call me boy.
Why
not
is
a
that?
Thing. Because
I was gonna ask.
I know. I think it because
is it because you're not
I'm not submissive,
you're not
first of
submissive?
all. But also it's a lot of times it kind of seems based in a certain amount of like misogyny, because it's assumed that, I'm trans, so I'm shorter than most, typical guys. And because I was assigned female at birth, I have certain bits of anatomy, and certain bits of anatomy are generally associated with submission and blah, blah, blah. And for me, it's just like, no, like I don't identify as a boy in any way, shape, or form, like as far as that context,
Interesting.
So
okay.
It's always felt really cringy for me. Not a fan. So for me, that's a hard line. And I will tell people, no, absolutely not. But there are plenty of folks who do identify as a boy. And if you call them a daddy or a sir, they will immediately correct you. Like I know somebody who is, he's kind of a big dude. He's well built. He's well hung. And he'll post pictures sometimes, like of himself at the gym or whatever, and people are like, "Woof, daddy," and he's like, "No, actually, I'm totally a boy, totally a boy. He's a total bottom, submissive, not a daddy or a sir or anything," and he will immediately shut that down. And there are plenty of people who identify as slave, and that's not to say that like they do everything that everybody tells them. That's not what that is. But it is part of their identity. For example, we have here in town, Slave Tabitha is actually a fantastic bootblack in our local leather community. But just because they identify as a slave, it doesn't mean that they are everyone's slave.
Okay.
Yeah.
So usually they will have one particular master or mistress that they will answer to. And depending on dynamics and, where they happen to be, if you see them out in public, if they're collared or whatever, a lot of times you don't even address them. You address their master or their mistress before you address them. But it's a self-identifying thing. And just because they have slave in their name, like Slave Tabitha, doesn't mean that they are everyone's slave. And no one is called a slave without their explicit consent. It's always either a self-identifier because that is the type of dynamic that they prefer, or it is an agreement between a master or a mistress and a submissive. So it's not like you can just be like, okay, you're a slave, you're my slave. That's not how that works.
Well, you know,
Not how that
if you
works.
think about it, just with any person, any relationship, you can call somebody sweetheart and somebody else calls you that and you're like, what? Don't call me your sweetheart. You know, even in the most simplistic terms, it's just a matter of respect for the relationship,
Exactly.
for the
And that's
person's
that's
identity.
exactly it. For some people, sweetheart might seem condescending and sort of infantilizing someone, whereas
Yeah,
somebody
if a
else is
man
like, no,
infantilizes me and says, "Hey, honey," or "Hey, sweetheart, get me a something," I'm like, "Get
Mhm.
it yourself." If somebody I'm in bed with says "sweetheart," I'm like, "I get a little old fashioned, but that's cool," you know.
right.
So it's
It's
really a matter of honoring someone's identity and respecting certain boundaries, I think.
that's exactly
For
it.
me, the trigger word is babe. When somebody says babe to me, I'm like, no, mm-mm, I'm
I'm
not
like,
your
who are
babe.
you? Why are you calling me what? Like,
Mm-mm.
you
Are you
know,
stuck in the '80s or are you really calling me babe? I mean, you know,
right.
when
Like,
everyone's a babe or chick or whatever they want to, whatever it is.
right.
Mhm.
And that's exactly it. And like we said, slavery out in the real world is abhorrent. Should never be nor ever have been a thing. Should never ever. But the concept of the master slave dynamic in kink and leather is a consensual relationship, and that's what the big difference is. Slavery outside of those dynamics,
Mhm.
not consensual. And
Right.
that's the biggest thing. And you know, a reminder, just because you aren't familiar with something or don't understand something, it doesn't make it wrong. It just means it's
Yeah.
something that you don't understand. And that's especially important when it comes to the kink community. You know, we always say, your kink is not my kink, but your kink is okay. As long as it's
Mhm.
between consenting adults,
Mhm.
I don't give a fuck what you're into.
Right.
I may not be into it even remotely. I may be like, oh, okay, so you will have a thing about eating cereal out of someone's asshole. More power to you. Not my thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. If you ever
Okay.
get curious and you're bored, go on Pornhub and look at anal gaping. Just
Yeah, you know, I
be
trip
prepared.
around and look at different things because I like to be informed and I'm very open.
Be
But you know,
prepared. You will
I don't
fall
go.
down. You have some tequila handy. You will fall down a rabbit hole that you will not be able to look away from.
You
Oh,
can't
I've never
unsee.
done it with tequila. Hmm.
Oh Lord. I again, there are people that are into that, and more power to them. As long as it's between consenting adults, I don't care what you do with your asshole.
Amen.
As long as it doesn't hurt anybody else, I
Amen.
will
Amen.
not. uh.
Yeah.
So, before you try to argue with somebody about something that you really don't know and don't understand,
Mhm.
make sure that you are either educated or maybe keep your mouth shut before you try to argue,
Yeah.
because slavery in the real world bad, but when talking about a master slave dynamic and a consensual relationship between adults,
It's
it's
good.
it's fine. It's a completely different, and slave is used all over the place. Are you yelling at Britney Spears because she said she was a slave for you? Like, eh.
Right.
So just keep that in mind. Just
I
keep that in mind.
mean, it wasn't unpopular like even maybe 10 years ago, people talking about love slaves. So,
Right. Like it's a thing. It's always been a thing. It's always been a thing. Like,
And you know, when you
so
look back 10 years at the things people said and did that were okay, and it's like you see that and you're like, oh my God, you know, it's just light years away. The
mhm.
ignorance.
speaking of
And
people, things that people say and do that are okay that weren't okay. Mm.
We're jumping into the news. Let's see. Double trouble. So, first of all, people spent money to go see Dave Chappelle. First thing. Double trouble. Elon Musk was there and Dave Chappelle introduced him.
oh,
Instant booing. Instant booing. Didn't stop for like 5 minutes. I don't know what else to say to
And
that,
what's
but
funny is he got up there and he was like, "I'm the richest man in the world," and then pretty much instantly lost
mhm.
that status. He is now number two.
Oh.
And
Chappelle?
No,
No,
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Oh, Elon, I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
was
Elon
reading
Musk got
the
up there
thing and
and
I missed it. Yeah, item off of Twitter. I dumped it as soon as Elon got involved. I said, I'm not going to
yeah,
feed any energy into
nope,
that.
nope, over it. Yeah, no,
9
he got up
years.
there. He was like, "I'm the richest man in the world." Everybody booed him, and then almost simultaneously, it was kind of a very quiet thing. It was really funny. Almost simultaneously, a gentleman in France who I believe owns, I think it's a jewelry company,
Mm.
something like that, perfume, colognes, maybe something along those lines. Um, Actually surpassed him by about $10 billion as far as being the wealthiest person in the world. So,
Oh, good for
oops.
You
him.
know why Chappelle chose to bring him on? Or was it so he could get booed? Or was it, I'm not sure why, what
Um,
those two would have. Well,
Chappelle's
knowledge.
kind of problem. Chappelle has been on a transphobic,
Problematic tour.
problematic kick lately. He's been supportive of Kanye West. He's been like, he's just. So the fact that he
That's
would bring somebody else that's problematic up there, not entirely surprising.
It's like all the problematic people are like, I don't know why they're canceling us. Let's get together and let's support each other.
Right.
And then when they get together, even more people get mad, and then they're like, I don't understand what's going on. I don't
yeah,
understand.
yeah,
I don't get it. But and then they like notoriously keep going. And Elon also was going after Dr. Anthony Fauci this weekend, talking about different things and pretty much feeding the fire that could lead to people harming the doctor.
yeah, yeah.
So when people say they're just words, they're just
Mhm.
words, they're
They're
just
not just
words.
words.
No, they're not just
They're
words.
bullets sometimes.
These people are acting on what you're saying and going and doing what you're saying, and then you say, "Oh, I didn't mean it like that. I
Right,
really didn't mean it like that. You could have instantly stayed at home. I didn't mean for you to go attack him. I was just saying you could kill him."
right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. And that, and it's brutal because science has just become. It's almost like it's replaced with religion. It's like this is the doctrine, and this is what you listen to, and do not research and do not listen to anybody with any medical knowledge, and just tune everything out. But my narrow little thing, which is that's the root of every cult in the world, and so
Mhm.
people are just starting to get so narrowly focused. They're just fed more and more and more bullshit. And then
Yup.
Mhm.
people suffer, the people on the fringes, suffer, people who are different, people who don't follow them. And it's creating this whole crazy swing of the pendulum, to the far right that's affecting a lot of our lives.
I'm honestly I said this a while
Oh.
back, but I'm actually kind of I'm surprised, honestly, like legitimately surprised that being a right wing conservative is not considered a mental illness at this point, because usually when folks, I am dead serious, when if you look at someone that has like borderline or something like that, they lie to themselves, they will look at your face, they will lie to you, they believe things that aren't real, which is exactly what right-wing conservatives are doing. They are being fed all this shit that isn't even remotely factual, but they're believing it and regurgitating it.
Well,
And
and
it's
actual
it's
conservatives who are just, there's a difference between a fiscal conservative who has a
right.
political ideal for how the country should be run, and conservatives who are nutcases. I mean, and what's happening is that the normal routine people, I would say, I totally disagree with your politics, but I support your right to say that you don't believe we should be taxed or whatever the hell it is. But when they shut up and lay down and allow the crazies to take over because they want that money to keep coming in. They
Yep.
want they don't want Trump to put $10 million in ads so that they'll against them so that they won't be reelected. It's like they've lost any moral compass whatsoever in relation to our obligation to society to make sure that everyone's okay. I mean, our tax dollars are to make sure that society is okay. The poor have things, that they need. Civil rights are protected for minorities. All of these different things have been completely forgotten, and now it's just
Mhm.
I believe to be forced onto you, and if you don't, then fuck you. And so it's very difficult to have respect for the right wing when it's lost any conscience or soul whatsoever. It's just money and power at this point, and it's so blatant and so artificial that they're not even pretending it's anything else anymore.
No,
It's
they're
crazy.
they're just like whatever. They've stopped having to like fake it. Basically, it seems.
Right. It's just, there's
And
no
speaking
more
of
fake.
civil rights being taken away, the Respect of Marriage Act was signed into law by President Biden today. So, for those of you that don't know what this means, and I'm like, what the hell? Okay, so what this means is that states must recognize same sex and interracial marriages.
Yes.
Because
Okay,
that's still a thing for what the
wait a
fuck?
second. Like, didn't we do this already? Wasn't marriage equality made a federal law in 2015? And interracial marriage has been legal since 1967, which that's not near long enough, mind you,
Right.
but still. But the thing is that Biden had to do this because fucking SCOTUS is looking to repeal everyone's rights. They want to take it all
Right.
away. They want to take
So
all of
they
it away.
want just rich old white men to rule the world again. Women are second class.
Yep.
Gays don't exist. Just
Yep.
eradicate them.
Yep.
I mean, it's just fascinating to see how far back they're trying to crank it. Until those old guys die off, we're just fucked. I'm sorry. It's
Pretty
just,
much.
and
No,
then this
that's
new
exactly
crowd comes
it.
up.
And it's stupid that
No,
this was
you're
the only
right.
way to keep those things safe. That
hmm
he had to put this up there for things that have already been put into law. These are already done. This was done. Right. Why are we doing this again? And that's why I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And I understand why it needed to be done, but I don't understand why it needed to be done. Like, I get it, but also what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, this is the funny part. Of course, Clarence Thomas wants to repeal interracial marriage, and
just get a
he is
divorce.
well because he's married to a white woman.
Yes.
So essentially, what he's asking for is just split up my marriage.
Well, the Christian
Suzette, I
right
can.
has really taken over. I'm sorry. Go ahead. They've taken over.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm sorry.
But go ahead.
After you, please.
No.
Okay. All right. What's fascinating to me is that in the past, before the New Deal, they had the corporations and the workforce ruled men. Men worked, they had jobs, there were factories, all of that. And the church ruled women in the family. And as soon as women could get welfare and food stamps and that type of thing, and they didn't have to go to the church and give up their babies when they were unwed, and they could feed their children without the church lost its power. And so when there were unions and Medicare, Medicaid, and all these things came along, the church and corporations lost their power. So you can imagine how terrified they are when they're thinking we're going to have Obamacare. Everybody's going to be able to leave this horrible job that they're chained to because of their insurance and go work in a flower store. And mass people just who are overworked and underpaid, massive, leaving of corporate jobs. So they've gotten together. And that's where this power is coming from. The church wants to have control over the family again, and they want to control women again, so that white men control the church can control women, can control families, get rid of all of the birth control, and forget it with gays. That's just out.
Oh, I don't even exist. I'm trans. I don't exist. I'm not a thing. It's fine.
Well, I watched that fascinating documentary on C Street that's on Netflix about how insidious the Christian right has this whole organization that's in Washington that has been going on for years, and they've just been ruling, controlling politics and spreading it all over the world, anti-gay particularly, and anti-birth control.
What's it called?
So it's called C Street. It's called well, it's about C Street. I'll have to send you the name.
I've watched the same documentary, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it was called.
I don't remember the name.
Is it? Oh, it's not. It's called. Oh God, it's like it's not the program, but something.
Yeah,
something similar.
Watch the
like
Family.
That. Something.
The Family.
It might be the family.
Maybe it is the family.
I
And
think
here
it's the
this
family.
Jewish and Christian kid goes in there to be
Yep.
a fellow, and then
Yep.
he becomes this, he sees what's going on and turns it into a documentary and
Yep.
just
I think
blew the
that's
lid
it.
off
I
the
think
whole
it's the
thing.
family. I knew it was something
Fascinating.
something like
Yeah,
that. I
yeah.
think
You know,
that's
how
what it was.
frightening is that?
Oh.
It's just
I
Suicide.
mean,
Yeah.
we talk about it every week that these white nationalists come to our drag shows because they don't think that drag queens should read, or drag kings or drag entertainers, anybody of that nature should read to children. Meanwhile, we're promoting literacy, but you're trying to burn every book
yeah.
and limit every book in every library. And I'm like, I don't understand what's going on, but
Yeah, it's complete idiocy and hypocrisy. It's
mhm.
like they want to turn American schools into the Christian madrasas because they've seen how it worked in the Middle East and they've seen how they can control the beliefs of the population, and they're taking on all kinds of weird
Oh,
tactics.
but Islamic fundamentalism is bad.
Well, well, it's not bad for them, for the men who rule it.
Right.
If you're
Right.
not gay or you're not a woman, again, it's just
Right. Right.
it's a patriarchal, terrible patriarchal thing, but they want to, they want to control what our children read. I don't know if you heard about, it was fascinating to me, the books in Texas, how they were calling slavery the Great Migration, that these
Yes.
Oh
people migrated here for jobs.
Yeah. It was
This
it was
mother's
all it was
reading
all
this.
it was choice. It was all for choice. I was like, are
Yeah,
you
she's reading this at
kidding?
home. What do you
no,
mean
Yeah.
this great migration? It was fucking slavery. They were brought here
Yeah.
in chains. And
no
so
Yeah.
she
way.
petitioned all
Yeah.
the way up to the governor.
Yeah.
They can just write whatever they want in these weird states.
Who was it? Was it oh God, was it Condoleezza or somebody high up said that slavery was a choice within the last
God,
couple
no.
years. And it
Can
was
you
No,
imagine
somebody
him sit there?
Kanye did say
Most
that.
people who
Kanye
enjoy
did.
it was
it.
there was
It
somebody
is
else
a
that said it too in the last couple years. That was like in the White House. They said that slavery was a choice. I'm like,
yeah.
by
It wasn't
definition,
Condoleezza Rice. It was
there was
that
somebody
Right. It
other.
was
something
after
idiotic she was
Condoleezza. It
saying.
was more
Anyway,
recent.
It doesn't matter. These
Whatever
people are
twisted
losing their
woman
minds.
they
they
stuck in
are.
power to be the face of a woman in the far right.
Hmm.
It's,
Yikes.
oh my goodness.
Interesting news, sad news. This morning, and throughout on social media, there have been people that have been mourning the loss of um, Stephen Twitch Boss, who was on Dancing. So You Think You Can Dance, and then ended up being like the pseudo DJ, but he was a big time dancer on
I
Ellen.
remember watching his season on So You Think You Can Dance. I think that might have been
Yeah,
actually the last season I actually watched of the show.
season 10. And then he's been really connecting with folks on social media, producing great content, and being the light and vibrant source for many people um, in the community. Um, even there was just so many heartfelt messages today that I like
Wow.
about lost it at some point. Um, because he was so bright. But what I want to say is that it stunned a lot of people, but it also, I hope, brings to light that check on your strongest friends and your brightest friends. They may look like they've got the world all figured out. They've got this, that, money, and the other. But today, strongly, I could see people encouraging mental health awareness, especially in the Black community, um, and checking in with your friends, because uh, that, whoo, kind of shocked
He
me.
took his life then. He took his life.
Yeah.
This shouldn't be a new idea though, because look at Robin Williams, look at Anthony Bourdain, look at all these people that supposedly were happy and God, what's his name? The band recently. God, what the hell? Can't remember what his name. Chester something. Chester.
Oh, Chester
Um,
Lockhart? No, not
no,
Chester
not Chester
Lockhart.
Lockhart. Chester
Oh,
something. I
from
can't remember the
Linkin
band
Park?
name off the top of my head. Thank you, Linkin Park. Like they're the day before, like these
Bennington.
people are happy and laughing, and Robin Williams was known for his comedy, and this is just another example of just because somebody is cracking jokes and seems to have their shit together and everything doesn't mean that they have their shit together. It doesn't mean that they're happy. It generally means that they're probably hiding something. It means that they're using humor to cover something up. Like,
Yeah. My older brother took his life 12 years ago. And so, one of the things I've learned from that, I think, is that when we complain about, maybe what, well, we don't have as much money as that person, or they were successful, or I could sit here and say, why am I not a famous artist? And I'm just painting in a little village somewhere. And we look at these people who we think from our perspective, they have everything, but the great leveler is our inner self, and that knowing who we are and feeling okay about who we are, and truly owning our right to be who we are and not have to hide behind jokes and laughter, and not have to hide. And so really being grateful for everything we have, and understanding that it doesn't really make that much difference as to what you have or what the appearance is. It's what really is going on. And so you're so right, to say, to listen, ask your friends, listen, and pay attention to kind of what's behind the curtain a little bit more. Because if we listen, sometimes they'll start leaking a little bit. If we just sit back and let them, talk about it, they'll start revealing things, I think.
I think another thing is to stop expecting people to be on all the time.
Right. Oh God, the pressure.
Yeah. Like that's a thing. Stop expecting entertainers to be on all the time. Like,
thing talking with someone earlier is that as we get older, I'm not sure if there's something in us that expects where we're supposed to be versus where we are. And oftentimes, a lot of us that live in these small bubbles, we have the option of, finding ourselves or being able to lean on certain people and figure that out. Meanwhile, people in the public eye don't really have that strong amount of privacy and time to come together. And because he could have easily, because he checked into a hotel the day before, or a motel, one of the two, but and easily, if because paparazzi is a thing, as much as we enjoy reading them in the snag rags, is that their life is always a point of contention somewhere. They can go to the supermarket and we're flash, 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 flash. Oh, she bought 3 cups of milk. What is she going to make today? I mean, if somebody did that to me on a constant basis, I probably would lose my shit.
Builds up.
Yeah. And so prayers, I don't mean it like as in Republican thoughts and prayers. I really I really mean thoughts and prayers to those families that are dealing with this, and for all the people that he affected. There are so many messages today that I was just thinking, like, if he had just put on Facebook or something like, I'm hurting, or I don't know, or if he had reached out to a friend, I don't know, but can't worry about the what ifs. But it was very, you could tell he was one of those people that he just touched everybody. So sorry, I brought
no, you're fine.
Well, a beautiful R.I.P. to him, for sure.
And it's rough. In health and or world news, Beijing is under lockdown because of a COVID outbreak,
Yeah.
which is actually the first for the capital since the beginning of the pandemic. Um, Interestingly enough, they're being hit especially hard because they never actually got hit with the other variants. They were so quick
Oh,
on the
wow.
vaccine that
Right.
they never really had to deal with the other variants, so there's no previous immunity.
Yeah.
So Beijing is like a ghost town at this point because everybody is getting hit and getting hit hard because after they locked it down at the beginning of the pandemic, they were never really affected by any of the variants. So
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. Like that's yeah, yeah. So
There's a
Beijing is
huge uptick in the village here in Mexico, and Mexico City has just taken actions now to go back to the masks and the limited stuff. When it hit here in this village, this place, they shut it down. By law, you had to wear a mask. If you went in a store, there every store had gel, gel things to gel your hands. They had mats that you wipe your feet on. I couldn't believe what they did. And then, of course, we opened up a whole lot of food kitchens and things like that for people because you lose your job in a little village like this. There's no tortillas for the kids. So it took a lot of work there was a restaurant down the street, and there would be a long line of 20, 30 people at a time going in with a plastic Tupperware to get food to take home. Because when you're in a society like we're in here, this is a great economy here because of the influx of foreigners. So there's jobs and stuff, but boy, they lose that job 2 weeks later. They're flat, so you have to really pay attention to who's around you. Elderly people are around you, or people who are in the public or who have to go to work in the public, or entertainers to nurses, and just checking in and making sure everybody's, hey, guess what? It's back, maybe gel those hands and take a little more care. Because I've had 2 or 3 different people come down with COVID that are like, can't come over to your brunch today because
oh,
I have COVID. Just right around me within the last couple of weeks. It's just rampant back here again too. So be careful, you guys.
it's not over yet,
Mhm.
folks.
Right.
Still be safe. Still keep washing your hands.
Yeah.
Just get vaccinated. Do all the things that you're supposed to do, and
Right.
hopefully, if
Right.
you get it again or if you get it for the first time, it'll be minimal issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Encourage the boosters. Boosters, boosters.
Mhm.
Oh boy. Okay, we have taken up most of the hour, but
That's all
last but
right. We got
not
time.
least, we are on to our guest. Uh,
Oh,
uh, we are talking to artist Mia Pratt.
yeah. Hey, hello.
And yes, for those that don't
We
know
still have
you,
sound effects.
I'm sorry. For those that don't know you, tell us about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Well, I came here from Phoenix in 2010. And in Phoenix, for the 10 years prior to that, I had an artist guild. And we had about 10, 12 people working. And we served, the Scottsdale like design build market. So we would go in, and I had one guy who could do gold leaf ceilings and, for these massive homes that were being built. And that was great for a long time. But I got to a point where I was so burned out, and I was doing artwork. Interior designers, they bring you in, they say, here's the pots and here's the chairs and here's the fabric for the couch. And they want a, Ralph Lauren theme. And can you do some horses and stuff? And so I'm painting, I'm going, okay, that's great. And I paint something for them, a giant painting or 3 small ones. And then we would go in and put Venetian plaster or whatever. And that was satisfying because I earned an income, and I was able to take these people who were artists who couldn't earn a living as artists. And by taking them into the field and teaching them how to do what they need to do as a business person, then they could go off a year or 2 later and do their own thing. So, there were
Mhm.
women who had been married for 25 years and did art and stood in front of a big wall, and they're like, what the heck do I do? And they couldn't support themselves. So there was a philanthropic aspect, and then of course, a commercial aspect. And that was wonderful for a while, but I just kept getting more and more unhappy that I wasn't able to paint what I wanted to paint. I had to paint what somebody else needed me to paint. And at a certain point, I just got up one day and said, I'm paying this mortgage in this house and this warehouse that my guild was in. And I'm making enough money to pay the mortgage so I have someplace to stay, and so I can house the employees so that I can pay the mortgage so I can, I realized, oh my God, I'm on this giant merry-go-round. And like I say all the time, it's this giant parking meter in the sky, and I could just not feed it enough coins. Just no matter how many more jobs I got and how much bigger the company got, expenses went up. And I just finally said, what am I doing? I just want to paint. Excuse me. So I went to different places and checked it out. I went to the South to see relatives, and California to visit there. Nothing worked. And then a friend came through, and they were heading to Mexico, and they invited me to come down for a visit on the beach. And I went, and I was just like, oh, this is great. 6 weeks in a Nawa Indian village, 6 months, excuse me, in a Nawa Indian village on a reservation where you walk out and you pick mangoes for breakfast, and they go and they fish for fish. And I would sit on the beach every day, just sort of stunned, just sort of in the shock of my mind would be racing. And then the following week, it was a little less and a little less, until I was sitting out there one day and there was nothing. It was nothing in my head. I was like, I'm not thinking. It almost freaked me out. And I thought, I go back. So some friends had told me about this little village like Chapala. I came here, and over time, I was able to build up a sort of, clientele and gallery presence. And then more recently, I opened my own little gallery where I can just open on the weekends for 5 or 6 hours, hang out the side, sit here and paint. People come in and buy my art. And it's really been nice, because what I have to express inside me, and both of you guys, I'm sorry, I don't know the right term, both of you know what I'm saying.
You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
You have to express, and until you can express it, something's missing. And for the first time, I was able to sit down and say, what's in my head? What do I feel and what do I want to express? And I paint flowers and all of that sort of thing, whatever I feel like painting. But there's also some political statements I've been able to make that are important to me. And one of them, for example, was gay marriage. There was I wanted to paint peacocks, and I went out and looked to find some example paintings. There was not a single painting anywhere that had 2 male peacocks. It was like peacock.
Really?
And so I painted 2 male peacocks, 5 feet tall, facing each other in front of the lake. And I thought, I don't have to speak it with my mouth. I can let it speak for itself. And some people walk in and, oh, how pretty. And other people walk in and they see immediately that that's 2 male peacocks facing each other, as mates. And another one was a painting I call the Pangolin Queen. And, it was a Black woman standing in this beautiful paradise in Africa, and she's holding the pangolin. And the pangolin is this animal, I'm sure you guys know, but for those who might not, that's going extinct. And they have these men, each pangolin has a caretaker, and they take it and put it in its little crib at night and everything. And I thought, this creature represents indigenous populations everywhere, that they're being shrunk and they're disappearing. And so I wanted to take this woman, this African woman, and I put her in sort of European clothing, because I will not appropriate by putting any painted person in a costume. I don't paint Mexican women in Mexican garb and Black women in Africa in African garb, because that's for those people to paint. And so I took her and I put her in these royal robes, and I had her cradling this pangolin. And then I had all these flowers around it with different faces on it. And they were accusing the world, each face in the flowers, like, what are you doing about this? Or one's looking away with its eyes closed. I don't see this. And so I'm able to express some political views that I have about the state of the world or the state of society, but in kind of pretty art that makes me happy to look at. And so that's really what I'm doing here, is painting whatever the hell I feel like painting. Whatever subject comes up to me when it comes up. And so it's I'm very happy being able to do that. That's it.
Wonderful.
I love that. That's the dream for any artist. Fuck it, I'm gonna go and live on a beach somewhere and just paint whatever the hell I want with no agenda and just do the things. That sounds pretty much
very
every
dreamy.
Artist's dream.
Well, I love working with young artists. Even on LinkedIn, I'll go out and I'll just all of these different pieces of art. And somebody's 25 And they're saying, well, I know the perspective's off and I know that this isn't right. And I'm 67, so I'm sitting here retired. Well, I'm not retired, but and they're looking and saying, gosh, look at what you paint. And I want them to understand, art, we're becoming when we're painting something, the painted product is not what we're doing. We're creating ourselves. And so I have this thing that I keep chanting to them, excuse me, over and over and over again. And it is, stop trying to create something you can accept and start accepting what it is you create. Because it's like, a tree does not grow oranges. So when somebody expresses themselves and says, oh, but this isn't good enough because the perspective isn't right, I said, forget all of that. This came from you. Look at it, love what it is, and don't be afraid to paint an orange blue, or to let the tower be crooked. Just do it. You become what you do. Just do it and love
perspective. Like look at some of the greats. Like some of the greats didn't have any sort of concept of perspective either. Like their paintings and their their things weren't accurate. For God's sakes, look at some of the faces on some of these paintings. You're like, oh Jesus. Yeah. Like did you know people that looked like that? Like that was the best you got? Like that was okay. Yeah. Like go on with your bad self. And those are the ones that are hanging in like museums, like
it just comes down to love. It really is. And art is a beautiful mirror to love yourself. Because as long as you're criticizing your art, or whether, no matter what that art is, dancing, performing, excuse me, playing music, if you're criticizing it, you're criticizing yourself. I'm not good enough. And, you look at a mango tree and it's just, some of the mangoes are crooked and it's just dropping mangoes. It just does what it does, and it is what it is. And I so want artistic people, creative beings is what I think of rather than artists, because we're all creative beings. It's just love. Let it come out of you and let it be what it is, and don't judge it. It's going to change over your lifetime. If you're 25 and you paint a blue apple, I'm like, great. You were brave enough to paint a blue apple. It's representative of just a moment in time. And so rather than taking it so seriously, just express. And the more you express, the more you become who you are. It has nothing to do with what your artwork looks like or what your performance looked like. It's really you becoming you.
Absolutely.
I think
back up the train. So before you got to Phoenix, how did you originally get into art?
When I was really little, when I was 5, I was in kindergarten, a Catholic kindergarten, if you can imagine, with nuns, and they had art time, and they had this giant box of crayons, which apparently was new, and it had a gold crayon in it. And I was so stunned by the gold crayon, I stole the box. I put that giant under my sweater, and we were two houses away. And my brother's walking me home, and I have this big, oblong box tucked under my sweater. My mom says,
my gosh.
What's that? And I said, nothing. She looked at it. She marched me back to the nuns and made me confess. And I cried and slobbered and snotted so bad that the nuns felt too bad to punish me. And they said, go ahead and take them home and use them over the weekend and bring them back on Monday. And I went home, and I didn't stop for days. I just took that gold and copper and silver crayon. I just went nuts. And ever since then, something just happened that I had to have that gold crayon bad enough. And what's so interesting about that is that then my parents, when I was older, bought me a paint by number sets. And I loved it because I could put exactly what I needed, but then I could smudge them together. And it started teaching me the chemistry of art, shadow and light. This color goes here and there, and when you blend them together. So I had some different experiences along the way that kind of moved me from one element to another. And then some sort of magical experiences. I remember I used to catch monarch butterflies and put them in a terrarium, and they would have a chrysalis. And on the top of a monarch butterfly chrysalis is a little gold thread. It's gold. No, it's really just some sort of strange reflection, but I thought that butterflies spun gold. So I was catching as many as I could and putting them in there. And I'm like, make some gold, make some gold. And so again, this gold crayon thing came back and I started putting gold. And to this day, I put gold and gold leaf in my artwork. There's something about that experience of thinking it was magic and the magical thinking of a child. And if we can remember and hold on to that part of us that believed there were fairies or that believed that butterflies spun gold, if we can keep that in our life, that's really the love. That's the shit. And so when I see you dressed up, that's exactly what you're doing. You're saying, I have something to say, and I'm going to take blue paint, and I'm going to take this costume and this mustache, and I'm going to put it all together, and I'm going to be this. And it's an intelligent use of magical thinking in a way that allows us to be creative beings and to express ourselves. So that's how it happened for me. Going and going and going. I could never get out of my obsession with art.
So you said something, you were talking about, how artists need to stop criticizing and learn to kind of accept. And I think one of the big things that artists struggle to learn, and I think it takes some time, is the difference, at least for me anyway, is the difference between criticizing and critiquing.
Right,
because it's like, so I had to start this face over a couple of times because I was having issues.
Well,
it's a matter of looking at this and being like, oh my God, this looks like shit. As opposed to, okay, this is what I got. I can see what I need to do better. I know where I messed up. It was a pain in the ass and I had to, it's like, it's not awful. I definitely could have been worse. It could have been better, but I know what I need to tweak.
Well, it's not, self-loathing is not involved in that. You're just saying, oh shit, I forgot my eyeliner, or I made this crooked one eyebrows up here. Huge difference in being what I call a conscious observer. That is, I like this and I don't like that. And, I know what I like and I don't like, and I want this to be what I like, versus I fucked up and, and now there's this self-loathing, and of course you fucked it up because you're, whatever that little mind chant might be, as we see ourselves as continual failures or whatever. So absolutely, I have standards. I'll paint something 5 times because what is in my mind is not it, and I know when it's it. When you've done exactly what you want to do with your face. When you've done the show that you hit it. What I like to think about, you ever been when you're in a jazz, like the rhythm room, and it's 1 a.m. and the jazz musicians are playing and you're sitting there, everybody's all around the edge of the room, and all of a sudden something happens. It's like you're underwater, and every note and everything's like boom, boom, and everybody's in the groove. And you're just this one big throbbing community with the musicians. That feeling, when you hit it, and the more creative you are and the more in touch with that aspect in yourself, you're wanting to get to that place. In your shows, when you do a show and you walk off the stage, you go, I hit it. That was it. I felt that. And the room felt it, and it just happened. But if it doesn't happen every time, and then people are upset and, self-loathing comes in, it's different. So it's learning to be a conscious observer and say, well, I didn't hit it this time, but no one can hit it every time. No baseball player, no basketball player, no musician. But the fact that we have hit it even once and we know what hitting it is that's the top of the pyramid. You know what it is and what it feels like, and to be able to have that, and then certainly want to get there, but not to feel like if I never get there again, then I failed, or I'm not a creative person, or I'm not a good enough artist.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that.
That's I think that's a big thing. That's something that I think all artists, I think that's something, I think it's something that folks need to learn. It's not something that just comes naturally. I think a lot of times it's, you have to get down on yourself before you hit that point where you're like, oh, why am I beating myself up about this? This is silly. It's like, this is, let me just do it again, and no big deal. Like, it's not no big deal.
Right.
And definitely that freeing moment is a relatable thing.
Oh yeah.
The freeing moment.
When the whole room, because I used to perform, I was for lack of another term, I was a belly dancer. I was actually a classical Egyptian dancer in a nightclub in Honolulu for many years, 2 shows a night, 5 nights a week. And there
I
would
saw
be
that on
times
your
that,
YouTube.
yeah, there's like this 5-piece band. And there would be times when you could hear a pin drop
Oops,
because the
sorry.
musicians were so into it. And I was so moved by their music that was the whole reason you dance. It's like you are an instrument yourself. You're part of
Mhm.
the band, and you're interpreting these other instruments with various movements. And there would be times I would go out there on automatic, and I could do everything on automatic, but I never got there. I didn't get it. And then some other night I'd go out there and it would just happen. And just knowing that it can happen is so wonderful, because maybe tonight will be the night. If it's not, it's like, oh well, it wasn't tonight, but maybe next time. And
Mhm.
there's this beautiful thing of knowing that there's something that exists that is magical. And if you can let go of your ego or your concern about what people are thinking and criticizing yourself enough to just be present with the music or with the audience or whatever it is that's happening, and just let that thing happen, then you get off the stage and excuse me, you're like, wow, what was that? So um, I think we can have that kind of experience more and more often in different ways when we stop the thought process that prevents it. So I always say happiness or peace is simply the absence of the negative thought that prevents it. So, excuse me, I'm talking too much, so I have a dry throat.
Oh,
So
you're
I try
fine.
to catch, conscious observer, try to catch what I'm thinking and say, oh, that's interesting. Why am I thinking that? And I can, with enough practice, I can shift and say, I think I'll think about this instead. Gone with the Wind comes to mind. Where he's standing up there with that carrot. As God is my witness, I'll never
You're
go free again. Up on the hill. But it's wanting to free yourself from yourself. We're our worst abusers sometimes, and so being a conscious observer of that is very helpful to just free the creative being. Like what you guys are doing right now. Such great examples of do who you are, be that, and love it, and fuck everybody else. I said it on your show.
Absolutely,
So what's
absolutely.
what's next on your plate then? So you're hanging out in your little village in Mexico and just kind of chilling with your gallery and painting whatever the fuck you want. Like what do you have anything exciting that's up on that's coming up that
Yeah,
that
I just launched a website a couple of weeks ago. I've had it for quite a while, but I didn't have enough inventory to populate the website. So I created the gallery and the inventory, and I let the website be dormant. Excuse me. And so I'm launching it now with social media stuff, and I've added a blog onto it. It's just a humorous, sarcastic blog. But every painting that I do, I'll tell kind of the story about how that painting came about. And it's fun because I like to write, and I don't like to sell. I don't like to send out outbound emails that say, basement sale, spend your money here. But I like to
Mhm.
tell stories. And if somebody's interested in a print of that art or something, it's good. But I just wrote the one, Women Don't Fart was my last one. And basically, it's just, but they're frequently near dogs that do. And I had painted this little picture of a dog on a couch with all these beautiful, pillows around him. And he's just sitting there looking at you and saying how, a dog is really a woman's best friend because you need that dog nearby. So, things like that are just funny and irreverent, and not taking, yourself too seriously as an artist of any kind, So that's my next project.
Oh, I love
fantastic.
it.
And we've got your that's I love that. I love that you combine your art with a blog and tell a story with each picture that you paint. I think that's fantastic. I think that's the best way to get people interested. Right.
Well, and if somebody buys something, that's great. I mean, certainly I want to supplement my meager retirement, but to be honest, living in this village, I'm just surrounded by flowers, and I have every need is met as far as me as an artist, personally. And so making money, if I wanted to make money, I know what to paint and produce to make money because I did that in Phoenix. But realizing that time is the real capital. Time is really real money. So if you're spending your time to make money, and time is more valuable than money, then what are you doing? You're throwing you're throwing your wealth away. So I'm really looking at spending my time in a way that is fulfilling, and if it makes some money too, that's great. So that's how I have to look at it, to allow myself to just spend all my time doing whatever the heck I please.
Oh, and there's the peacocks.
There's the peacocks. My friend Dana here is getting married to his partner Eduardo, and he had asked if he could borrow this painting. It's like 5 feet tall. He had asked if he could borrow this painting for his wedding to take pictures, so I gave it to them for their wedding gift. And so they're so excited.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They're going to come get it and hang it up in their house. And I mean, I never know who I'm painting something for. And I remember a long time ago when I was a little kid, I would draw pictures when my parents were arguing or whatever, and it would distract them, and I couldn't tell them how I felt. Excuse me. So I would sort of draw something and give it to them, and that's how I came about with the tagline, "My art is love." So when I'm painting something, I don't know who that's for yet, but I know that when they come in and they'll recognize it, and they're going to take it home to its forever home. So while I'm painting, I'm thinking this could hang on somebody's wall, and that person can die, and it's going to go to their child's home, and there's a whole story that goes with it. And it really has to be filled with, my energy has to be focused on, this is for somebody very special, and someday they're going to claim it. And so when Dana asked if he could borrow it, I said, this is the owner of this painting. They've shown up, and it has to be theirs. I could not possibly sell it to anybody else after they wanted it for their wedding pictures. So, it really is our creativity, no matter what we're doing, is certainly an expression of our love, and that to me is essentially what creativity is. Oh, excuse me. Thank you, Gage.
You are fantastic. That peacock picture is gorgeous, and looking at your socials and stuff, it is. Your work is amazing. It is. So everybody go check it out. Go look at the website.
So much,
buy some art. Buy art. We like art.
Thank you.
We like art.
And I'm going to sign up for your Patreon, because I didn't know you had a Patreon. Forgive me for that. And I'm older. You got to forgive that I don't look at every single social media of everyone that I know. So I'll go out there and sign up for that too. I need to see what you guys are saying all the time, because I love it.
Oh, we've got there's all sorts of fun stuff on the Patreon for sure, which we'll get to that later. Just a few minutes.
Well, it might be a little in the closet for me, in a different kind of world for me. I don't know. It might be a little more extreme in your Facebook. Hey, I'm open.
We're not that crazy. Like we're not that. It's fine. It's fine. There's nothing too weird. I mean, it's just extra. But it's not too weird.
It's just extra.
Okay. Well, something pretty bizarre and weird to be too weird for me, because I'm gonna just let everybody do what they want. Whoop-de-doo. It's a beautiful world.
Let's see. What gigs have we got coming up? I have Drag Story Hour next Saturday morning at Brook Road Coffee, which I'm excited about. It's going to be the last one of the year, so that'll be fun. It's always a good time, and Brook Road Coffee is great, queer-owned, fantastic. So if y'all need something to do next Saturday morning, it starts at 10 a.m., goes to about 11. So come out and do the thing. Support, things like literacy and inclusion and diversity, because those things are important. And then on Sunday, I am at C7 for Three Fates Review, the Island of Misfit Toys. That's where I'm bringing out my brand new Elton John number. Yay! Not that anybody gives a shit, but it's fine.
Did you finish it?
I mean, to be fair, there wasn't a lot that I needed to do. It was mostly just stoning some accessories, and I'm almost done. I'm stoning through some stones in a shirt, but it wasn't anything crazy. So but I mean, the suit is already there. But it'll be fine. It's gonna be fucking sparkly. It'll be fun. There's gonna be like feathers and things, and it'll be fun. So make sure that if you haven't gotten your tickets for that show, make sure that you get tickets for the Three Fates Review Island Misfit Toys. And get the good seats. Don't get the cheap seats in the back. Get the good seats up front. Get the seats in the back, and then you complain that you can't see the floor work. Not my problem. So Get the good seats. Get the good seats.
And then
And
on
yeah,
January 14th, we are back at Gracie's Tax Bar with another edition of Sex Trivia. And you
it'll be the
too could learn
first one of the new
something.
year.
Yeah, you too could learn something, just like the young lady we talked about earlier.
Indeed.
I learned something tonight.
We do have more guests and stuff that are in the works, and when we get them nailed down, we will start announcing those. Probably not until the new year, I'm guessing.
Mhm.
So we've got two more Fifis left of this calendar year. Whoopee. That's exciting. And then
Yay.
it'll be 2023. How the hell did that even happen? Lord. Oof. Oh, when is our when are we doing our onesie party? Is it next week?
Next week? I haven't asked people, but
Oh, cool. Okay.
it might just be us in our onesies.
That's fine. We'll figure it out. We'll see if anybody wants to do the thing. It'll be fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's
If you
all
want
gonna
to
be
be a
fine.
guest, if you want to join us either virtually or whatever, if you want to do the onesie party, let us know if you're watching and you want to jump in. Make sure you have a fun onesie to wear because, that's what this is about.
That's
And have
the
a cup of
theme
cocoa.
of the party.
It is indeed. Indeed.
Thank
Go
you
ahead.
for joining us for the Wednesday night conversation. And special thanks to our special guest artist, Mia Pratt,
Oh my
for
gosh,
joining
I
us
had
tonight.
so much fun. I just love you guys both. I love you both so much.
Wednesday the day or when the show. What are you talking about, Suzette? Oh my God. Onesie, not Wednesday. Onesie. My God, Suzette. It's fine. We're fine.
It's
Go
past
ahead.
their bedtime. It's past their bedtime.
It's past my
Thank you
bedtime.
to all of you who watched live, including Suzette, who hears things differently than most.
Her brain is on autocorrect, just like her phone. Like her.
And those that watch on the replay and then send me messages after asking questions when I know they should ask Freddy.
Nobody ever
And
asked me questions. Why don't they ever
I
ask me
know
questions?
they should. And we want to thank those that download the podcast with more than 6,500 downloads. We want to thank you for
I'll take it.
listening out there in Cambodia. I don't know why that's our highest number, but anyway, take it as it is.
You
We
know,
will see you
Cambodia is
next
a
week.
huge drag capital. Did you know that?
Yeah, apparently.
They love us there. Book us today. We will see you next week for your Wednesday night conversation. Good
Good night.
night.